For anyone who's into cars, whenever the history of automobiles comes up, the first brand that usually pops into their mind is the legendary Mercedes-Benz, with that iconic three-pointed star. In this video, we're going to take a trip down memory lane and check out some of Mercedes-Benz's most important inventions. These are technologies we see in cars all the time now, and other manufacturers use them too, but their roots go way back to the innovations and engineering genius of Mercedes over the years. Of course, all car makers, whether they're building electric or gas-powered cars, have come up with cool and useful inventions that have made driving more comfortable, safer, and faster for all of us. Without a doubt, Mercedes-Benz has a super long list of inventions over its 138-year history. But in this video, we'll be focusing on 10 of the most important ones. By the way, I've already uploaded a video about the invention of electric cars, titled The Amazing Transformation of Electric Cars, and you'll find the link in the description if you want to check it out after watching this one. In that video, I talk about how electric vehicles were actually invented a bit before gas-powered ones. But as you probably know, Mercedes-Benz is recognized as the first company to create a car with an internal combustion engine. So, apart from the engine itself, Mercedes made the first honeycomb radiator back in 1901 to keep their 35 horsepower engine cool. This radiator looks pretty similar to the ones we see in cars today. Then in 1914, Mercedes-Benz became the first to use 4 valves per cylinder. They did this for a car that competed in the Grand Prix, and it had a 4.5-liter inline-4 engine that made 105 horsepower, which was a big deal back then. Mercedes winning that race showed just how effective a 16-valve engine could be. These days, turbochargers are on almost every engine, but this tech was actually developed by Mercedes back in 1921. They added a turbo to a 1.6-liter 4-cylinder engine, which bumped the power from 25 to 40 horsepower. Mercedes called this tech compressor, and up until recently, you could still see the compressor badge on a lot of their cars. Another game-changing invention was the independent suspension for each wheel, introduced in 1931. This kept German cars ahead in terms of handling and suspension for years. They first used it on the Mercedes W15, also known as the 170, and it made for a smoother ride with way better handling, something that set the standard for modern car makers. But Mercedes didn't stop there with suspension systems. They kept innovating with things like multi-link suspension, anti-dive systems, adaptive suspension that adjusts to road conditions, and active body control, which stops the car from leaning in corners. A clever innovation from 1949 was the conical door pin lock. It keeps the doors from flying open during a crash or rollover, so passengers don't get thrown out. And when you close the car door, it clicks securely into place, giving you that satisfying feeling that it's locked tight. Next is the crumple zone, introduced by Mercedes in 1951, and it saved millions of lives. It's pretty straightforward. Parts of the car's body absorb the energy from a crash by crumpling, stopping the force from reaching passengers. They first used it on the Mercedes W111, and now it's standard in almost every car. The stability control system, known as ESP, was the result of a collaboration between Mercedes and Bosch. After years of working together on ABS brakes, Mercedes suggested they create a system that uses data from sensors on each wheel, plus inputs from the ECU, steering angle, and gyroscopes to control the fuel and brakes on each wheel independently, keeping the car stable in tricky conditions. The first car to feature this tech was the 1995 Mercedes S-Class. A few years earlier, companies like Toyota, BMW, and Mercedes had introduced traction control, TSC, but TSC didn't use steering data, so it was a more basic version of what came next. Another cool innovation from Mercedes is the Smart Key, introduced in 1997. It's the keyless entry system we all know today, where the car exchanges codes with the key fob. It makes life easier for drivers and harder for thieves. This tech debuted in the Mercedes S-Class W220. One more awesome safety feature that Mercedes introduced in 2002 is pre-safe. Using sensors and cameras, when the system senses that a crash is about to happen, it tightens the seat belts, adjusts the seat backs and headrests, closes the sunroof and windows, and preps the airbags. If you've ever sat in a Mercedes with this feature, you might have noticed the seat belt pulling you in when you start the car. It's like the car is giving you a reassuring hug, saying, "You're safe here." If you've liked the video so far, don't forget to give it a like and share it. These are just 10 of the game-changing technologies Mercedes-Benz has introduced to the world. Of course, over the past 138 years, there are way more innovations they've brought to the table. If you know of any others, feel free to share them in the comments. To me, Mercedes-Benz always stands for power, prestige, and class. And finally, here's a video recommendation for you about the future of the automotive industry. See you in next video.